Welcome to today's video. Really excited about today's topic. Going to be showing you an automation here connected with planning, which is something new. Haven't shown that yet. And what we're going to be doing specifically is I'm going to be making a number counter or a number cycler. So I have this reference ID number. That's what I named it, and I have it just starting from 1 and going down sequentially. And basically, I want to add an automation that's going to every time just go to the next number. Okay, and so let's look at that. Okay, so let's jump into Workfront. So I have my new scenario started, but let's build this. We're going to build everything together from scratch. So let's start with the Workfront Planning module. Again, this is going to be my first time showing this on one of my videos, so excited to get into this, and definitely will be doing more videos in the future with planning and showing more capabilities and more automation and connections, both with Fusion and with the native kind of built-in automations that are within planning. And so I'll be showing that in the future. Okay, so this is going to be a watch event because we want it to trigger whenever a new record is created. So we're going to add a new one. Let's just name this YouTube, or call it ref ID demo. Okay, got my connection to my admin. Okay, so record or object type, this is going to be a record because we're adding a record. And if you look here, kind of hints that that's what this is a new record. The record type is up here, the campaign. So record type. Now objects to watch, this is going to be a new record. In this case, I only want it to trigger when a brand new record is created. For configuration type, we can leave that simple. State, gonna set that to new state. Okay, here we're gonna pick the workspace. So if we look up here, the workspace is this basic marketing management, just a kind of out of the box pre-built workspace. And then this is the campaign. So if we go to workspace, it's gonna be this basic marketing management workspace. Then the record type is going to be campaigns. So again, just to highlight workspace record type, if I go here, you have your workspace up here at the top. Let's highlight just that. So that's your workspace. You could also back out here and you'd be able to see the workspace right here, workspace basic marketing management. And then here you see the record type is campaign. So that's what we have here. I'm just going to keep this simple, and I'm actually not even going to include a filter. We can get into that in future videos. You can see the options there, but I'm just not even going to include a filter. I'm basically saying whenever a record is created on this specific record type, then trigger. Okay, so that's our first step. Great. So now let's just make sure it works. I always like to run a quick test, so let me run this. Let's go over here and let's just create a new record, call it test. Wait just a bit for this very first one to run, and then we'll see that it works correctly. Okay, perfect, there we go. So that ran, and let me show you what we get here as an output. It's gonna be a little different than a typical watch event that we're used to with the Workfront, kind of Workfront core modules. We're getting a lot less information here. So what you're seeing, we have this created at, created by, customer ID, and some of this information. If we drop this data, you'll see there's a few additional fields. These are connections, and all of these are empty because all of this is empty, right? There's nothing here. So we created it and there was nothing on it. So that's why everything's empty. And that is typical of what I would expect. Okay, so that was the first step, was now we have the trigger. So now the next step is we want to basically say, okay, what's the next number in the sequence? And let's find out what the next number in the sequence is. And so I'm just gonna delete this real quick down here, okay? And so in order to do this, what I'm going to do is actually create a data store. So I'm just gonna open a new tab. And let's go over to data stores and let's set this up. So let's do add data store on the top right. And let's just call this the YouTube demo number cycling. So for data structure, we're going to just create a new one. So I'm going to hit add, and then I'm going to call this, I'm just going to take this and call it the same thing. And then we're going to add here the specification. So what I'm wanting is that reference ID. So I'm going to say ref ID number, which is this ref ID number. So that's what I'm going to call it. For the type, I'm going to change it to a number. And for my default, I'm just going to put 0 as my default. And that, for this specific case, that's all we need, because all we're doing is just referencing that number for this data store. So let me save that, Okay, so now we have it here, YouTube demo number cycling. Let's browse. There's no records, so let's add a record, and let's add a key. We can name this anything. I'm just going to call this YouTube number key. And then for the reference number, I'm actually going to change this from 0, and I'm going to change it to 5, because our last number here was 5. So let's just make this 5. Okay, and then let's make sure, and I'm going to copy this because I'm going to need it here in a sec, and let's save that. Okay, so now we have this set up. Let's go back into our scenario, and what we're going to do is we need to get this number. So we're going to go to here, and let's look up data store, and what we're going to be getting is a record. So we need to get a record. So these are the options we have. So we're going to get a record. Now we get select the data store, so we'll get this new one we just created. And then here is where we need that key. So I'm going to just paste it. That's why I made sure and copied it, and get the key. And then I'm actually going to do something instead and show you this. So I'm going to do a set multiple variables, and I'm actually going to use this variable to store that key. So I'm going to call this just data key, and then we actually put that in here. That way I can reference it, and if there's any issues, I can just change it in this one place, because I'm actually going to be referencing it again. So that keeps it just a little bit cleaner. Okay, so that's first part set up, and what we can do to test this is let's just run this module only right here, and we're going to need to set that data key, which I should still have pasted. So let's do that. Let's run it, and we should get 5 as the output. Perfect. So now we're going to do another set multiple variables, and now we're basically going to create the new reference ID. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this reference number, and really simply we're just going to add 1 to it. Okay, so that's just going to take that output of 5, add 1, so it would make it 6. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we need to update the data store, right? Because we need to say, okay, if we're referencing this right here, this reference ID number that we're storing in this data store, and we want it to always be 1 up the next time, we need to now store basically 6 here, so that way when it grabs it next time, it grabs 6 and then adds the 1. So we need to basically push this new number that we have here, push it back. And so we're going to update a record. Let's pull that in here. So data store, we'll select the same one. The key, this is where we'll use that variable to reference it. And then this ref ID number will be this new ref ID, and actually misspelled that. So let's fix that. So it's ref ID. Let's fix that there, and then fix it here. Okay, so now this is getting that, storing it back. So that's what we have so far. Triggered, we're setting that variable. You know, this is not a necessary step. We could easily hard code that key into both of these modules, but just to keep it a bit cleaner and easier to maintain. Getting the record, or getting the number from the data store, setting the new number, updating the data store. And so the last thing is we need to now update this field on that new record. So if we go back to our Workfront Planning modules, what we're going to do is update a record here at the bottom. Let's add that. So workspace, again, if you remember, this is going to be the basic marketing management. Record type ID. This is going to be the campaigns record type. Record ID, we're going to be getting that from our first module. So that's this new state ID right here is going to be the record ID. And then what I want to update, let me just save out of that, is the field I want to update is this ref ID field. So let's go down and see if we can find that. Right here at the very bottom. And we want to update that with this new ref ID output. And so let's look at that. There's going to be one thing we're going to want to change, but let me just show you this first. So let's save it. Okay. Now let's test it. So I'm going to run it. Let's go over to a new record. Let's call this test again. And let that run. And now we see updated to 6. But you notice right here we have 0005, 0004, but here we just have 6. So we really need to, if we wanted to match, add those zeros. So let's go here. And then I'm going to, in this case, just to keep it simple, I'm going to add a couple zeros here. Now, obviously, adding 3 zeros, you're basically hard coding 3 zeros. So once we get to 10, it would be 00010 instead of 0010, right? So there's a couple options for fixing that, and I'll get into that in another video. For this, I want to keep it really simple and just really show this portion, which is the updating of the number. And so I won't be getting too much into that, but let's just save this. Let's run it again and let's do another test to compare to see if it makes a difference. Call it test 2. Give it just a sec, and there it goes. So that updated it, and so now we have 0007. And if we did it again, it'd be 0008 and so forth. So that is how you can build kind of a cycling, whether it's a number, some sort of code. This is obviously a very simple example, and you can make this more complex as needed, but wanted to show how to build that and show how that relates specifically to planning, so that way you can start seeing some of these automations with planning, which are using, again, these different modules here, and we can easily distinguish by them having this blue color. So hopefully you found that interesting. And again, a lot of new videos coming soon talking about planning, both from Fusion as well as just getting into planning, understanding how to use it, how to set things up, and again, using the native automations that are within planning and how to connect your records between planning and Workfront Core. So definitely stay tuned for that. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any ideas or topics that you would like me to discuss, also leave them in comments, and I will be definitely referencing those for future videos. So with that, I will see you guys on the next video.